Hi guys, this is Angelique van Zyl, and today we're going to look at the concept demand. So let's first look at the definition for demand. Demand is the quantities of a product that purchasers or consumers are willing and able to buy at various prices per period of time, other things remaining the same. So I'm going to break it down for you, but before I look at the willing and able part, I'm going to look at the ceteris paribus part because it's already on the slide. So ceteris paribus is a Latin word describing all other things remaining the same. In economics and law, they like to use some Latin concepts or words. And basically what ceteris paribus is, or all things remaining the same, is that I am looking at two variables. The two variables will be for demand price and quantity demanded. And we say that other factors outside of those two variables are seen as staying constant. Now I want to look at the willing and able part that I was referring to in the definition, but also linking in with the graph work. So we have two types of demand. You have notional demand. I'm just going to write it down for you here quickly. Notional demand. And notional demand is, okay, I want the product, but I really don't have money to back that want, so I can't purchase it. In economics, we really actually just care about this effective demand bit. So I want the product, so I'm notioning that I want the product, but I also have the money to back that kind of want. So I have money to purchase it. So that is what we're going to look at in demand. So when I'm looking at demand, consumers want to pay less. They want more for a lower price. If you're going to charge them more, they're going to demand less. That's how it works with consumers. And now I'm talking about a rational human being. In economics, we look at the rational individual, how they normally would respond to something. And I'm really just talking about items that you buy on a regular basis where price will affect your demand. So when I'm looking at price increases or price decreases, it can be shown on my graph. And my graph really has two concepts here. Like I said, in terms of ceteris paribus, I have the quantity demanded and I have the price. Okay, so it is how my price is going to affect the quantity demanded. If, like as illustrated here, if the price drops, then it will lead to the quantity demanded increasing. So if I move from this point to that point, in other words, from price P1 and to price P2, there's a decrease in the price. I can make it from $10 to $5 or 5 Rand. And then as soon as the price decreases, then your consumers are like, oh, I want more. And that's how the interaction between price and quantity demanded works. And we don't look at outside factors yet because this is seen as a movement along the demand curve. And a movement along the demand curve is caused by price changing and that affecting the quantity demanded. So those two variables, price and quantity demanded. And we also say that the relationship between price and quantity demanded is a negative one. So in other words, if the price decreases, a minus, the quantity demanded increases. Maybe again here to say it increases from 100 to 120 because there was a price drop from 10 to 5. And that's the relationship between price and quantity demanded. As we also looked in the formula for PED, I said that PED has a negative value because as price increases or price decreases, it has the opposite effect on the quantity demanded. I want to show you our market demand schedule. So this is just the example for the PC market, but it can be for any type of industry, for any type of product, doesn't matter. So the demand schedule basically gives us the prices and then the corresponding quantity demanded for each price. And as you can see, as my price starts to decrease, so from 2000 to 800, we can see that the quantity demanded has increased from 1,000 to 7,000. And you can see for any point here, this is 1,600. There's a quantity demanded of 3,000. And like I said, this is just the example, but that's normally how it works. So as the price starts decreasing, the quantity demanded will start increasing. Let's look at the demand curve, but in line with that example I just went through with the market schedule. So when we are drawing up our demand curve, we need to plot the points, so our price point and our corresponding quantity demanded point, and then link all the points together. But that's more what you will do as well when you draw any graph in math and so on. So I just chose 3 points. I chose 3 price points. I didn't go through all the price points. So I chose 1,600, I chose 1,200, and I chose 800. And then obviously the corresponding quantity demanded that you will get in that market demand schedule that I showed you. So I can see here again that as my price is increasing, okay, so maybe going from 1,200 to 1,600. So I can also just make little points here. Can call them A, B, C, and D. Just A, B, and C. And I can see that as the price goes up from 1,200 to 1,600, what I can see what is happening with my quantity demanded is it goes down from 5,000 to 3,000. So it's going to do this. Okay. And vice versa, if I say my price is going to decrease, let's take it from here. Let's say it goes from 1,200 to 800. I can see that going from B to C, my quantity demanded is increasing from 5,000 to 7,000. And that goes along with the rule that the relationship between price and quantity demanded is negative. As my price increases, my quantity demanded will decrease. As my price decreases, the quantity demanded will increase. So moving from point A to point B, or point B to point C, doesn't matter, or from C to A, we call that a movement along a demand curve. And when my price is decreasing, leading to the quantity demanded increasing, we call that an extension of demand. And when my price is increasing and my quantity demanded is decreasing, I call that a contraction of demand. So here you can see another example of that extension and contraction of demand I was referring to. And again, that's a movement along the demand curve. All other things remaining constant, only price and quantity demanded are the variables, the things that change. So again, just another example for you to look at. Now I want to look at shifts in the demand curve. The other thing I was looking at was the movement along the demand curve. These ones are shifts, so outside factors or other factors that causes demand to either increase or decrease. Say for example, incomes increase in your economy or in your area or what, doesn't matter, then it just means that there is potentially more money available to increase demand. Maybe it's demand for a particular industry or demand for a particular product, doesn't matter. I can draw up various demand curves for various situations. So Or I can have the opposite. If my income decreases in my country, maybe the taxman takes more tax and you have less disposable income that you can spend on products or services or industry, then your demand curve can actually decrease. So this is an increase from D to D1. So we call D, this one, our original demand curve. And when it shifts outwards, an outward shift away from the p-axis is seen as an increase. And an inward shift towards the p-axis is seen as a decrease in demand. But I will also show you a more mathematical representation of this. That, remember I said to you, for the movement along the demand curve, it is price changing affecting the quantity demanded to change, so those two variables. But when I'm looking at a shift in the demand curve, I'm saying that price is going to remain constant. So here I could make the price $15 or 15 Rand, doesn't matter. So say the price is $15. The price stays constant, but it will have different quantity demanded outcomes. So if I look at my original demand curve, I can make the quantity say 100 over here, and over here with the increase in that demand curve, I can make it 200, and over here I can make this 80, for example, with the decrease. So you can see that when it's an outward shift, it is going from the original to the new curve. There's going to be an increase. You can see it goes from 100 to 200 at that same price point. I can draw up many price points at any particular area. I can do a line over here, I can do a line over there, it doesn't matter, but the price stays the same, but the quantities will change because of outside factors such as an increase in income and things like that. So if I look at this one as well, going from 100 to 80, you can see that the quantity demanded has decreased. And that could be, like I said, incomes decreasing, taxes increasing, less disposable income, things like that. Now I want to look at all the possible, or most of the possible factors that can actually cause my demand curve to shift. So this slide will look at the ones that cause an increase, but I'm also going to look at the ones that decrease in my next slide, but I'm kind of also going to explain it while I'm doing the increase side of things. So when I'm looking at this graph, I can see it went from D1 to D2. It doesn't matter what you label them as. In my previous example, it was D to D1, just as long as your corresponding Q's and P's and things like that will align with your choices. So in this case, what I mean here is this is D1, so the quantity will be Q1. So in here I have D2, the quantity demanded would be Q2. Now this one illustrates an increase, and again I can choose any price point I want. Maybe I choose $15 or 15 Rand again, and I will look at the causes. So the first one I already kind of explained in the one that I had the increase and the decrease on the same graph. So I explained an increase in income. That could either be because people just got a lot of increases, or the taxman decided not to tax people as much on their income tax and giving people more disposable income to use. And that could lead to a whole industry or whole products demand increasing. The next one I want to look at is a little bit more complicated, but it's easy enough if you kind of just keep all the little things together. So this one is a rise in the price of substitutes. So substitutes products are basically products that I can substitute the one for the other. So for example, butter and margarine is a very commonly used example. You can use any type of jams as substitutes, but anything where I can just replace that function or that product with something else. So when I'm looking at a rise in the price of a substitute, I'm just going to explain it to you by using an example. The butter, margarine, and now the price of butter has increased. So you're going to show it on this graph. The price has increased, and that price increase has led to the demand for margarine to increase. So what I'm going to have is demand shifting. So it's going to increase. And that is how it normally works. So we say that the demand for margarine has increased due to the price of butter increasing. So we say for substitutes, they normally have a positive relationship. So the price has increased here, leading to an increase in my demand. And again, I can just put the price line there as a constant line, but I don't need to, because we're actually going to put demand and supply together, and then you can have an idea of how the market actually interacts. Now, the next one I want to look at is a fall in the price of a complement. Again, I'm going to have to do an illustration for you. A complementary product is two products that kind of have a joint demand. In other words, you need the one to actually be used together with another product. So for example, printers and printer ink. So if I say that now I have ink and I have printers, so exactly the same printer that uses that particular brand of ink, and I can say that the price of ink has decreased. Okay. And if the price of ink for that particular printer decreases, then your quantity demanded for that particular type of printer should increase. And also the opposite or the flip side is true. So if that price of ink had to increase, then the demand for that particular brand of printer will decrease, because people can really chop and change between printers, and if it gets too expensive in terms of using that particular brand of ink, they might just buy a new one and start anew. Now the next point I want to look at is taste and fashion favor the product. So in other words, people want your product, so you're in luck, people demand your product. The other one I want to look at is an increase in advertising. So you're spending a lot more on marketing, but the correct type of marketing. So in other words, you're choosing your media quite well. So either billboards or pamphlets or social media. And that can actually cause a whole increase in the demand for that product. And then another one is a rise in the population. So more people, possibly more money. Doesn't always equate to that, because your population could have a high dependency ratio, meaning that just some people in the family are really working and the others are not. And those people are basically carrying the whole family. So it doesn't mean that your income per se is going to increase. Then we can actually look at the next one, where it says other factors such as weather changes and things like that. So think about holiday destinations. Especially when weather is really good, then the demand for those industries will increase. If the weather is really bad, for places like the Alps and things where you can actually go and ski, then you need cold weather. So in that case, they need cold weather to increase their demand. And we can actually look at things like demand for fans and heaters as well. In summer, you might demand more fans or air cons and things like that. but in winter you'll demand more heaters or warm blankets. Now I just want to look at the flip side, so it's literally just the reverse of that other slide I was looking at. So here it's a decrease in the demand. It's going from D1 to D2. There's a decrease in the quantity demanded and the price point stays the same. So here I can have a fall in disposable incomes, so a taxman's charging people more, or people just have less income because they haven't received any increases. Then a fall in consumer income, already explained, and a fall in the price of substitutes. I showed you the butter and margarine situation, and then a rise in the price of a complement. I showed you that situation with the ink and the printers as well. And then taste and fashion favor other products. So you're not in luck, people are going the other way, and fashion just has changed and you didn't change along with that. Then a reduction in advertising. Oh, maybe you saved, you didn't want to spend as much on advertising, maybe it's hard times, or you spent nothing on advertising, and unfortunately the demand for your type of product has decreased. Then a fall in population, so more people leaving your country, or the death rate increasing and things like that. That could lead to a decrease in demand, depending if people actually have money. So the other one I want to look at is also weather again, weather conditions, but now it's not in favor of your product, but it's against your product. So for example, I don't know how you feel about it, but in winter, I don't really like eating ice cream. And I know a lot of people feel the same way. So in winter, you can see a bit of a change in the demand for ice cream, where in summer there's a high demand for ice cream. Now the last thing I just want to show you is the two shapes that you can get for your demand curve. The one I kind of showed you was the linear one. So the linear one works like this, just linear. And this one is a more constant one. So basically saying that if my price increased by 1, my quantity demanded should decrease by 1 unit. So in life, that normally doesn't work that way. So the more correct format is my convex shape. So this one shows an increasing situation. So as the price changes by $1 or rand, so it increases by $1, the quantity demanded could change from 100 to 50. That's how severe it can be. So that is a more increasing format, okay, or exponential format, and this one is linear. Thank you guys. I hope that clears up a few things with demand, and I will see you guys again. Please make sure that you go and like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed the videos, and I will see you again. Bye.